In this section, we're going to look at using the LogMeIn client program from the icon that we pinned to the taskbar. So here we see the icon, and if we click on it, it'll launch the LogMeIn program. It's going to ask us to enter our LogMeIn ID, which is the email address that we used when we created our LogMeIn account, and then the password for the LogMeIn account. Let me go ahead and type in my email. I'll type in the password. You'll see the check mark in front of the statement, "I trust this device, keep me logged in." This is safe to do from your home computer, and it will save you the time of having to log in or sign in to the LogMeIn client program every time that you run it. So it's okay to leave that checked. Click on the Login button, and here we see the LogMeIn client program, and I see my office computer here. That's the only one I'm allowed to get access to, so that's the one that I see. If I click on the picture of the screen, I see a number of different icons, but the one that we'll use most of the time is this very first one that allows us to have remote control of our office computer. We'll go ahead and click on that, and it'll load up. It takes a couple of seconds, and now we are signing in just as if we would be in our office. We have to enter our username, our Windows password, and if we have an office with a domain controller, we have to say log into our network, log into our domain. So let me type in the username and the password. On login, I will click on the drop-down. My network name is Micro Support, so I will select that. And you'll notice the statement here, prohibited by administrator from saving login information. So that's for security reasons. We can't save the password to get directly into our computer. And this is good because we wouldn't want to have someone be able to walk up to our computer and get into the office computer from home without knowing the passwords. So once we have all of our information entered, we click on OK. It'll take a couple of seconds to connect, and it's going to ask us some additional information. Just as before, when we sign in, it will save us some time by clicking the Login button. We've already told the LogMeIn client program our office username and our office password, so we can click on the Login button. Again, these extra little options that come up, we can turn those all off. We don't have to display that. And we don't need to do screen blanking, so we can say don't display that again. And we'll click on Continue. So I have two screens in my office, but I only have one screen here at home. So here we see monitor 1 and monitor 2. If we had two monitors, we could simply move this to another screen over to the other monitor and have it display there. But again, in this case, I have just the one monitor here. So we can switch back and forth using one of the buttons. This is our toolbar area here, and this very first one, if we put our mouse pointer over it, it talks about it says monitors switch between multiple host side monitors. The host computer is the computer in your office. So if we click on that button, instead of being two separate windows, it'll combine it all into one window. We can then switch between our two monitors just by simply clicking on the button. So there's monitor 2. We click on the button again, and that takes us back to monitor 1. So we can switch back and forth between those two. You will probably want to have the LogMeIn client program take up your full screen. So if we click on this maximize button here, it'll fill up our screen. In another video, we'll talk about these extra little bars on the top and the bottom. But at this point, it's just like I'm sitting in my office. Anything that I can do in my office, I can do here. I can run programs, I can print, I can do everything that I need to do. One note about printing is that by default, when you use the LogMeIn client program from home, it will become your default printer when you connect to the office for as long as you're connected to the office. So that means if I ran Microsoft Word and clicked on the print button, it would print on the printer in my house, not the printer in my office. If I wanted it to print to the printer in the office, I would simply tell it which printer I wanted it to use. But again, by default, for the whole duration of our session that we're connected to the office, our default printer becomes the printer we have at home. So you will see this little overlay that's semi-transparent that's on the screen in your office computer, and that's just simply to let someone know if they were sitting at the office computer that someone is accessing the computer. So we can click on the little X to close that down. When we are all done with our session connecting to the office, we want to leave the office computer on all the time. The office computer has to be on in order for us to log in. When we want to end our LogMeIn session, we can click the X up here on the toolbar at the top. So we're in full screen mode. If I go out of full screen mode and we just see it back as a window, you see it becomes the red X. As soon as we click on that, that will disconnect our session, but it will leave the office computer running. And this is the first time we're doing this, so again, we can have the host computer, the computer in our office, locked when we sign off. So it's a good idea to turn this particular one on. Just click here and it'll become green. Since we've turned it on, we don't need to see that every single time, so we can select Don't Display This Message, and then we'll click on End Session. So that ends our LogMeIn session, but our home computer is still running. We can do whatever we need to do. So we could close down LogMeIn, we could minimize it, we can come back to it later, and we would just click on that button to launch. It'll connect to our office computer. We type in our username, our password, and we select the name of the network that we're on and click OK. Click on the login button here, and now we're back on our office computer. Let me just close that down, and for the last part of this section, I just want to show you, if you close the LogMeIn client program, it's going to ask if you'd like it to continue running in the system tray. That means down on the right here by the clock. We really don't need to do that because we've pinned it to our taskbar here, so it's very easy to see. So I'm going to say remember and don't ask me again, and say no, exit the LogMeIn client now. And there we go. We can do whatever else we needed to do on our home computer. We can shut our home computer off, but at any time we can get back into LogMeIn by clicking on the icon. And since we told it to save our LogMeIn email address and password, I went right in. I didn't have to type that information again. So that is it for this video. In the next video, we'll show you a couple of extra tips for using LogMeIn.